Hello and welcome everybody. Today I am Deborah Filbert and I am your talk show host today for If I Can, You Can. If I Can, You Can. And you know what? It's so welcome to have you back today. And I love you guys to start sharing because we're going to have a phenomenal guest today. I'm not sure how you guys had your week, but I know I'm excited to come back here today with you and talk with you, tell us your story. And we have a guest on today who are going to tell you about her story, her life, her dream. I'm going to tell you much, but when you come on, so you can go on and share on Facebook Live, share to your Lou, Live View, Roku, Amazon Fire, Imagine TV, and we are also in 50 states. So just continue sharing, and we are going to be live. I'm going in 5 minutes. We're going on a break right now. We're going to go on a break right now. So for to hear a bit from our sponsors.
Do you want to grow your online presence and expand your business reach? Our marketing team can definitely help you. Advertise with us today and let Imagine Me TV take your business to the next level. We are offering 3 affordable packages to the end of 2020. Package number 1, you will receive 1 flash ad at the opening of the show. We will also share your business name, location, and phone numbers, and that is only $59.99. In package number 2, you will receive everything from package number 1, but you will also get a second flash ad in the middle of the show. In package number 3, you get to be the show sponsor, and you will receive everything in package number 2. Plus, we will list your website, and you will also have a 30-second video ad. These are some amazing prices. So what are you waiting for? Contact us today at email address info@leagueyourbrandltd.com, or you can call us at 614-402-7034. You can also visit our website at leagueyourbrandltd.com. You can catch our show on several broadcasting platforms like liveyourstreaming.com, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and also on Imagine Me TV network at League Your Brand Limited Company. We have viewers in all 50 states and globally. We are international, we are national, we are worldwide. Canada, Africa, Asia, Europe, the Caribbean islands, just to name a few. We are Imagine Me TV, your number 1 virtual TV talk show.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Today I have Nina Webster, who she's a certified youth advocate. She's a motivational speaker, a life coordinator, and she's also the founder of Sport Nonprofit. And you know what? I know Nina has all these accolades, and I'm so excited to be part of friend with Nina. Nina and I met in a business that we both do, and we are in a motivational class, a leadership class together, and we connected. It's so funny how we are, when God has a divine purpose for you, God, connects you with people. It's like a couple months ago, Nina contacted me and we never connected. But just last week, I was just looking for someone to come on the show, and she was thinking about me, and I was thinking about her. And it was that divine intervention. And I'm so happy, Nina. Welcome to my show today. And I'm so happy that you come. And you know what? And I know you want to talk about all the businesses you do, about your nonprofit, but I just want to hear you about Nina. I want to hear Nina's story because I know you have a powerful story, and I just want to hear that. Just want the world to know because I'm so excited. And we can have a part two. We're not gonna have part one. We're gonna have part two because I'm excited to know the Nina. I know you in our group, and I know you come up with some powerful motivations every morning for us. You really lift us up, and I follow you on Facebook. And sometimes I'll be like, yes, God, I'll be praising God because the words you put out there. So I just want to know, Nina, and I know you're a mom. So just tell me about Nina.
Well, first of all, before I even get into who Nina is, I have to say congratulations to you, Miss Deborah, for kicking off this show. I know it started as a vision, and I remember you mentioning it to the group and our accountability buddies, and to see the manifestation of it coming from the initial thought in your mind to the manifestation, and to be able to be a guest on the show. I am so honored, sister, and I am sending love and light to you on this amazing. This is my side hustle Saturday. All my days mean something to me, So this is my side hustle Saturday, but I'm so honored to be here with you today, and I am excited even more about our time today.
It's
So
a pleasure, Nina. It's such a pleasure to have you on, and I'm excited where this is going to take us to. So I'm so excited.
yes, indeed. We know that this is just the beginning. My old pastor used to say, God is always doing more than what you think he's doing.
You surely
And,
do. You surely do.
when I had you on my heart to reach out as we were talking about dreams and goals, and we never continued because timing is always everything. And I remember reaching out, and I remember why I reached out, but I had no idea as we began to talk this week how this was really going to unfold according to destiny. So just super excited as well about where this is taking us. So great morning, everyone. Great afternoon, whenever you're going to be seeing this. I'm so excited. And this is definitely going to be fun and interesting all at the same time. I got my tissue on deck because you really are getting ready. You always going to get the real of who Nina is. But this particular interview means so much to me, Ms. Deborah, because there are so many things that has and is unfolding in my life. And with my book, as we'll talk about that, it really shines the light on the journey and the faith that it took to get to where I am and where I'm going. And so just a little bit about myself. I was raised in Michigan. I am a Michigander, as we call it, a Yankee. And so being in Louisiana right now, of course, we're in the midst of a pandemic within a pandemic, right? And we're in this snowstorm. And although I'm from Michigan, I'm very used to this, but different type of snow than I've ever seen in my life. So I have really been in such a transitional season in my life in multiple ways, as I'm sure the world is within itself. So being from Michigan all my life, born and raised, I moved down south about 16 years ago almost. I started in Marshall, Texas. I was a wife. And so when we talk about if I can, you can, I mean, we all go through things, and I am definitely the living witness of that misfit kid, that kid that everybody wrote off like I am her. You're looking at her, you know? So I'm that kid, as they say, not Jenny from the block, but Nina from the block, you know? I often refer as I'm mentoring and ministering to my students. I was raised by pimps, hustlers, and thugs. If I could just be real, because
Let's
you're
be
going to get,
real, girl. Be real.
you're
Be
going to
real.
get, you already know, Miss Deborah, they're going to get the real deal.
Real,
Whole
real. That's what we. You know what, Nina? Not cutting you off, but the thing about it, when I started this show, is because I was afraid to talk about my issues, what happened to me, and it took me 40 something years to talk
mm,
about it, even
mm,
to tell one person. And
mm.
if I can get women to come on and be real
Come
and
on.
tell what happened, because I'm not afraid to talk about it now, and this is why this show was formed, so we can get women, not even women, only men. And my goal is young kids because it happened to me as a kid,
Mhm,
right? So I want to read. That's why I said today, Nina, I heard a little bit from you in
mhm,
our group, but today I want you to tell the world that, you
mhm.
know what, we are women and we are strong. And if we can, they can. Right?
Yes,
They can.
yes, indeed. Absolutely. And you know, I am going to give them the raw and uncut, uncensored, but yet professional all at the same
That's
time, you know? But yes, ma'am, you know, really being raised by pimps, hustlers, and thugs, that's what I knew in my family. That's who we were, you know, and I always knew that there was greatness inside of us. I always knew that. I remember being a little girl, you know, being in a family. Honestly, I was the black sheep in the family and oftentimes still feel like as such, you
mm-hmm,
know,
mm-hmm.
but I always used what I saw in my family to be who I am today. I never ever once thought I was better than ever. But I knew that what God had gave to us, because he gave us so much, even from the pimps, hustlers, and thugs, he gave us
Yeah,
so
he
much.
surely do.
You know, my uncle, God rest his soul, his nickname was the Brain, and that was really who he was, you know, and so much unbelievable talent. My uncle, one of my uncle, his nickname was Jay the Great. His track, he's 50 plus to this day. His track record still isn't broke in his high school. And
Wow.
if it is, it just got broke. If it is, Miss Deborah, it just got broke. So
Uh,
we had all this greatness in us, but not the right people or positions, if you will, on a consistency
right.
that helped develop us into the men and the women that I knew the world needed to see in who the Lees really were. Okay. You know,
Okay.
Nina Webster is the married divorce name, you know, but I had to keep it because they would have thought like, oh, Miss Nina just got married. And it would have been like, no, Miss Nina just got a divorce. So
Well,
I, you know, and I'll talk about that as we get a little bit further in, because my divorce almost destroyed me. But
I understand. I understand where you're coming from, sis. I understand because you're not the only one. You know, it destroyed. You always say you get married, and I understand where you're coming from because
mm,
I got married because I wanted to get away from my home. It's like
mm,
I wanted to get away from something, and the only how to do is to get married, to
mm,
leave home, and that's why we go in the islands. But you
mm,
get married, but then you realize it's like, oh, that's the because you attract what you know. So
where
even
you
when
are
you're
at the
broken,
time.
you attract broken.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand you.
Yes, ma'am. And I'm sharing all of this. My book is going to talk about it because people need to understand that regardless of what your journey looks like, you still have to show up. And what I've learned is not just show up, but you got to be able to show up and show out. See, it took me 40 plus years to show up and show out, Miss Deborah.
See, I'm not the only one.
Like I've always showed up, but to be able to show up and show out is a whole other story. And when I say show out, I want the listeners to understand. I don't say that to impress you, but to impress upon you that when I say show out, it's because of he who lives within us. We're called to be lighthouses. And regardless of what that journey is and what that journey looks like, we know we got to go. So
Yeah.
Nina has been that person that has been broken, that has gone through streams and rivers of water that I thought I was going to drown and never make it. But I knew that I had choices and I knew that decisions had to show up. And as those showed up, I had to show up. And I had to be that mother. I had to be that woman. I had to be that entrepreneur. But most importantly, I had to be that overcomer that never quit. And I'm still at it.
Yes, that is awesome. So, how many kids do you have, Nina?
I am a mother of four. I have two boys, two girls. They range from 26, she'll be 27.
Wow.
And my next one will be 18 on Tuesday. My youngest will be 17 in May. Not youngest, I'm sorry. My third will be 17 in May. And the youngest, I forget about her because she's the surprise of the bunch. She's 8 years old. And I say that because eight is my $1 trillion number. So much of my life has occurred at number eight. Eight represents the number of new beginnings. And even as you see my planners roll out, you'll see it starting from August to July. But yeah, my surprise is 8 years old.
8 years old. Wow, that's a surprise. Wow,
Mhm.
I'm trying to remember my kids at 8 years old.
Mhm.
I'm trying to remember them. They're all adults right now. So,
Yeah.
you know, but I
Lucky
have a
you.
granddaughter who is like, yeah, I still have that baby. And so let's go on. I know you started your nonprofit, and I know your nonprofit started, it's got to be, I love the word sport, successfully preparing our teens. You know,
Mhm.
successfully preparing our teens is like when you have a teenager and they don't know where they're going to. And that's one of my niche, that's one of my goal, especially through my nonprofit. It
Mhm.
really started off with a young 10-year-old who I normally go to this trailer park. We in the summertime, we would take lunches in the trailer park, and this 10-year-old would follow us and who wanted lunches all the time. You know, every time we walk driving there, he is coming and helping. Can I help? Can I help? Can I help? So it's befriended him. When I befriended him, I realized that he's 10 and he wanted to be a policeman.
Wow.
Trying to find that help for him when I got back there, the whole family was gone.
Wow.
No phone number, nothing. And I met the mom. She had a lot of kids, but the family moved. And I couldn't really. So that is one of the things when I look at your sport, your nonprofit, it took me back to. I still want to, if I could still meet that young guy again, but maybe I may not meet him again. But maybe I'll meet another young child who I wouldn't get away from the crack. So that's why I love what you do. So how, what made you start it? How did you start it? What was your reason why you started it?
Yes, my heart felt you with that young boy because I've saw and mentored tons. I cannot count in my 25 year. I'll be celebrating 25 years, my second birth as a woman of faith, and I've in my 25 years of working with youth and students. I cannot tell you how many kids I've crossed. I have no idea. I couldn't even begin to count. But what made me start it, as I mentioned, I always knew that I wanted more. I never looked at or downed where I came from. I'm honestly, I'm to this day, I'm true to the hood. Don't judge me. Like I love when I get to go home and lay eyes on people that I did life with in my earlier years, because today to still be breathing and for two to even say that we've made it is a whole nother story. So I started it because I know where I began.
Hmm.
And being that person raised the way that I was raised, I had, even in our family, though, they were who they were, but they had their nuggets that they dropped in my life that were valuable, that I'll never forget. So you take in the good and you do away with the bad, right? So
Yeah.
even those that were in my life always planted seeds. And I had programs like being, because I'm from Michigan, Born in Port Huron, shouts out to PH. Born in Port Huron, that's my dirt road country living, Miss Deborah. You don't even know country roads is in Michigan, but they
But
are.
I'm from the islands, girl, so I know what it is.
You know it, you know it. We had, I mean, I loved watching the horse ride around because that was one of the most activities I would see because my grandmother stayed watching Westerns and I
Yeah,
hated Westerns,
I
still hate
remember those days.
to this day, and when I could watch something color, it was like, yes, So The Price is Right was the highlights of my world back then. But I remember having programs like JTPA, the center. We had people like Mr. Jones that I got to write about in my book, who was a mentor of mine when I was 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. And then having programs that I can go to in the summer, which was summer school. That was like what we dreamed for all year. We would go to summer school during the morning and the local pool in the afternoon. So at the age of 7, 2 weeks before my 8th birthday, we moved to Flint, Michigan. And I
Wow.
landed in a community by the name of Beirut, is what they called the Regency. It literally was Beirut, Miss Deborah.
Wow.
And I remember going there and I was in complete culture shock. I got into a fight the first day of school because the girls said that I talked too proper. We're leaving from a complete community of being the minority to where there was probably 3 of us in the whole elementary school, to being in a community to where all we knew was African Americans. And
Wow.
so it was a complete culture shock, but God always has his hands. I don't know
Me
what your
too.
faith is, but I'm going to always give you mine. But God
Mhm.
always has a ram in the bush for those that he loves and that he predestined, right? And so I always had amazing people throughout different seasons of my life. And as I got older, the age of 18, I got into a near fatal car accident my senior year. And
Yeah, I
when
hear you talk about that.
I had been in church all my life, I'm talking about raised, y'all. And it was usher board, choir, you name it, we was in it. But it was I didn't know it then, of course, and it served its purpose. So I would never take that from that season. But it was all religion, not relationship for me because I didn't personally know him.
No, okay.
And so during my car accident, I woke up from this, y'all,
Don't
as a
make me
180. Girl, 180, Miss Deborah. And I woke up from this accident a brand new person. And
cry.
so all I knew was to go back and give what was done to me because I had one mentor in my life. That boy, and this is a shout out to my mentors or those that are serving purposes and you don't know if it's paying off.
Mhm.
This woman became a mentor to me. Shouts out to Irma Kelly, Michelle, man. This was to this day, I'll always be indebted to this woman. But, I would stay the night at her house because she had a daughter my age. And I
Wow.
would stay the night at her house. And one of the things that we had to do was we had to read scripture before we went to bed. And she would give us different scriptures to read. And I had no idea what I was reading most of the time because all I knew was Sunday service. And you never opened up the Bible after that.
Wow.
But those seeds she planted manifested in my life as I began to become a believer. And that was July 13th, 1996. So this
Wow.
year is my 25th birthday, Lord willing. And so I wanted to give back, and Spot was born. So just to bring that home is there. Spot, I didn't know the name. I was like going through a divorce because who knows that your biggest blessing normally comes in your darkest hour. Put a pinpoint there, right?
Yes. Get to.
Pinpoint there, right?
Mhm.
I was going through my darkest hour. I was going through a divorce that you couldn't have paid me to believe I was going to happen. I did everything that I could to be the best wife that I knew how to be. And even when we walked, I wanted to know my grade because I'm always interested in being a better me.
Yeah.
And it was just something, it was like an arranged marriage. I'll talk about that in my book, Crazy Enough, but it's my story. It was like, oh, you believe it's God? You believe it's God? Set a date and marry. But you
Wow.
can't do this, that, and that. Okay. So hindsight, almost 8 years later, we go through this divorce and the Lord is speaking spot into my heart. I thought, you got to be kidding me. There's no way possible that I'm getting ready to build this huge program in the midst of the pandemic of my life. Make a
Yeah.
note of that. We're going to talk about pandemics,
Yeah.
because even in the midst of pandemics, you got to keep going,
You
right?
know what? And that's what, you know what, God always does that to us. It's something God does to us because that's the time, and especially when we talk about pandemic, that's when He wants to know if we trust Him. So
Hmm.
that's the time, because remember, He don't ever give us no more than we can bear.
One of my favorite sayings, everybody knows this, my quote book, one day before I die, Lord willing, my quote book will be in manifestation. But one of my favorite quotes is trusting and believing while
Yep,
believing and trusting,
trust Him. Yep, we gotta trust.
because
We
life
got,
shows up.
yep, we gotta trust. So we're gonna go into a commercial break. So let's hear from our sponsors today, and we'll be right back with you.
Do you want to grow your online presence and expand your business reach? Our marketing team can definitely help you. Advertise with us today and let Imagine Me TV take your business to the next level. We are offering 3 affordable packages to the end of 2020. Package number 1, you will receive 1 flash ad at the open.
So today I want to thank Michael Weinstein from MW Law LLC, who sponsored our show today. And during the show, for the show to go on, we asked people, business owners to sponsor us. And I'm fortunate to be, I can say, Michael Weinstein and his family are family to me. So anytime, anything in our life. I'm grateful for him, and he is he does litigation, business law, and he does landlord tenant law. So if you're looking for a lawyer in the Atlanta area, check out Michael Weinstein in Atlanta. Okay, Lena. So we are back. And Lena, you just have me. I'm like, God is so good. And now I'm so much happier that I decided to come out of my comfort zone, my shell. And you know me, in our group, I never really talk. It's only when I speak. I remember the last time when I did something, you're like, Miss Deborah, you put it on spot. But that's with me. But I am so happy that you are here today, and I love your story. I just love that through all adversity in life, God
Mm,
still give us that.
yeah,
That's what we can say. God still give us that joy to say or come out of it, seeing it as a rose, and not
absolutely.
seeing it as something bad. So look at it as that rose, because you right now you own what, 2 or 3 businesses. You own a nonprofit. You have a travel, and that's one thing I'm curious about, the travel part, because when I was looking at sport or looking at your bio, you said you used to travel for your international for sport. So what
Mhm.
made you do that? Or what you think?
Yes, ma'am. And if I can I go back just for a second? Because I want to make sure I answered your last question before break in regards to why or how Spot came up.
Mhm.
Coming through my divorce, I said no the entire time, but I was praying and really just seeking counsel, because I've always understood the importance of mentors in my life. I always say I'm never too grown. I don't want to be too grown that you can't teach me nothing or tell me nothing. So mentors has been imperative in my life throughout different stages. And so I was telling God no, but yet I was writing the vision down and making it plain.
Yeah.
Okay. And I still have a lot of my original documents over 15 years ago, which Don't judge me. And I'm not a hoarder. I just believe that, all
You
that
just
stuff is
you just
important.
cleaned, remember you just cleaned up
All that
your,
stuff be
your
important, Miss
office.
Deborah, right? You already know. And so I asked the Lord, like, what does, like, I need the name because it has to be hot, it has to be everything. And there was this location back home. Shouts out to Furlough and Cheese and them, and they had this nightlife, and it was the spot. And because my life had transitioned so fast, I couldn't really enjoy it much. I got in and out of there. Well, I said, "Oh, the spot." And I thought society preparing our teens, but my mentor said, "No, Nina, you have to think about a different name because society is the reason why our youth and teens are in the rut that they're in. So we don't want no society."
Uh,
And that was such a learning lesson. And I think the first tool or the first opportunity I would say I had to be able to stand my ground, but yet respect authority too. And that's always been tough for me
yeah.
because you love people, and of course back in our day we were taught to really respect your elders. So I
Uh,
knew Spot was the name, but I needed to figure out what to do with that S. So successfully became that S.
okay.
And moving forward, remind me of that question. I have to go back and kind of clear that because it was a whole transition there, Miss Deborah, of why. But I'm sorry, ask me your last question
So
again.
your last question, sport, and I said you came in sport. You used it to travel
Yeah.
internationally, and so I know you travel to a lot of countries. You doing through sport, but for me, when I became a travel agent, was so the funny part about this is my goal is always, and I tell everybody I want to be a missionary. I always say that from ever young, I would be a missionary. I prefer walk the streets. I'll be Mother Teresa. I'll be all this, right?
Oh,
So I was in my Toastmasters group, and one of my Toastmasters, she's always traveling. I'm like, why are you traveling? I love traveling from
yeah.
ever. I always travel. My kids, they had 6 months, less than 6 months, they had their passports.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's who I am. And she said, "Well, I'm a travel agent." I'm like, So how can I use being a travel agent to travel the world, doing my mission? That's it. That came in my mind. So when I looked at your sport, I'm like, she's using her travel to do international. So I'm going to use my travel to be a missionary, just go around the world. So what
Absolutely.
for me, that's my goal. That's what I want. I use it for. But I end up coming to a phenomenal company that I could still use it when I travel to
Uh-huh.
help others. But I want to know what you use sport because that travel path always intrigued me. Because you can empower. One thing I like is empowering kids to know the world. Empowering because a lot of kids, what I realize in this country, a lot of kids do not travel. They don't have a passport,
Mhm. That's right.
culture wise. So, what inspired you to do that?
Wow. It really was for me, Ms. Deborah, the best of both worlds. I have been working with youth for about 25 years, as I mentioned, almost now. And I remember beginning all of the personal development that I had ever known up until 6 years ago was the Word of God. That's all I knew. But then I got introduced to personal development in the business arena, and started following Steve Harvey and Eric Worre. I mean, just different people, in the game that I had never heard of in my life. And so somebody literally knocked on my door on Facebook and said, "Hey, I see that you love traveling," which I did, and I had already had the vision in my heart to create this international platform that I could provide opportunities for people to travel in and out of the world. And particularly Jamaica. That was my only focus, was
Uh,
Jamaica.
Jamaica.
Because yes,
Back to
ma'am,
the
because
islands.
let me tell you, no problems over there, right? And so
Yes.
the mission was to simply do spot nationally, but my first international trip was to Jamaica, and I could not almost sleep over there for hours because I was flooded with just ideals as a visionary and vision. And so I knew that I was to build Spot on a national level, but provide international facilities for the
Right.
exact reason that you just said, Ms. Deborah, that the cultures, when you are able to expand abroad, your whole world shifts and your
Yes, yes.
mindset shifts. And the kids that I saw and began to touch and mentor over there, I knew that it was a necessity for my US students to be able to experience it. And so Spot International then became born, and it's been uphill from there.
Yeah, because that's one thing I realized. I'm coming from the island, and and I always tell people this story. When I got to New York, I never realized I was poor. you know, because it was a different culture shock to me. But my kids were exposed to traveling from a
Yeah.
young age. Like I had maternity leave for almost a year. So
Yeah.
hey, we were on a plane. It's like a
Right.
baby. My son got lost in New York City. So, it's not thing. So that's why I would say, and I love it when we can get the young kids from a young age to really explore, because no different cultures in that way, where we wouldn't have, that we have that diversity now, because when we look at it, we are all the same, even though we are
Yes.
different colors, but we are the same. And so the children could go, and for me, like going to Africa, seeing where other kids who are living less hungry, helping those kids out there. Letting our kids do that. So when they come back here and they realize that, look, I have all this, but we have kids somewhere else who doesn't have anything, who doesn't,
Right.
who doesn't even, some didn't, like my grandparents, or when I grew up, they weren't able to read or write. And some
Mine
kids in
too.
this country not even getting that, right? So
So
that's
true.
when I looked at sport and I looked at it, all these stuff that, and I'm a visionary too.
Uh-huh.
So it started spotting in my mind, like, oh,
Uh-huh.
I'm using it as a missionary because I want to be in the trenches. I
Yeah.
want to be in the, like, out there and just go
Boots
and
on the
stand,
ground.
on the side of the street, because I do it here in Atlanta. I sit
Yeah.
on the side of the street with a mom once, and she had a baby, and young baby, she didn't have a place to sleep in the rain in the night. But I
Mm.
sat there with her until she could find a space, and that's what I like. So when you talked about that, I was like, wow. Now, even though, and that happened to me months, it was almost 2 years ago when I decided I wanted to be a travel agent, just to do that.
Mhm.
And seeing
Mhm.
you doing that, I'm like, thank you, Jesus. You're so
Yeah.
awesome. You take
Yes.
so long, to rally. But now doing this show, it still gives me a sense of like, okay, it can
Yes.
be done. It can be
Hmm.
done. Right.
If I can, you can, right?
If I can, you can. And so
Yes,
what?
indeed.
Facebook friends and family, or if whatever you're looking on, if you want to, ask Nina any questions, just put it on Messenger, put it on Facebook. We will get back to you. And surely, I sure Nina will answer any question, because
Listen.
she's a phenomenal woman. She's an entrepreneur. And another thing I'm going to talk to her about, because she did media too. You did media in college. You had
That is the funniest story ever. Piggybacking even from the travel and leading into this, you got to remember, Miss Deborah, I was going through a divorce, which it was a done deal. My boys at the time were about 3 and 4 years old. And
wow.
my first international trip was in Jamaica. And God, again, will put people in your life at the right time. I had built a rapport because I went back to school. I knew that with this vision God had given me, I didn't want people to say I didn't have the credentials to do this type of facility. So I went back to school, got my undergrad, was the second person in my family to graduate with a college degree. And I know,
Yay.
right? It's so exciting. And went back to school, got that paper. I remember how young my boys were, but needing to get it done. It was tough, you all. I just remember that it was tough, but the grace was on it. I remember having the right people that would keep my car while I was going, and my boys would get my boys back and forth to daycare. So, just the opportunities was there. And I remember finally working so hard, but being able to surprise my boys on a cruise. I will never forget my experience to surprise them on a cruise. But doing media in school. Yes, I was in college, freshly going through a divorce, had no idea what I was doing, but I knew what God had gave me to do. Because a lot of times you will get an assignment. Let me just make this clear. And I'm going to say a lot of those in the back, as the kids would say, Miss Deborah, right?
Yeah.
Most of the time, the assignments that you get are something that you will not want to do. It's going to
Exactly.
come
I
in a
got
time that
you.
you don't want to do it. And it's definitely going to be out of your comfort zone. Believe that.
Yes,
Okay. I
I'm
always say,
doing it right now.
I'm telling you, I always say, if you want to be comfortable, you will never be successful. And if you want to be successful, you will never be comfortable. Okay.
Yeah.
But I did a radio. And each day, Miss Deborah, each week I walked in, and probably what you're experiencing, I was terrified each time. Oh my goodness. I didn't know what to talk about. I was thinking, getting my guests, but I did it afraid. And so,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am, I did radio. And I remember reminding you, I was in Texas when I first moved down south in Marshall, Texas. Shout out to my Wiley College family, because I'm an alumni of Wiley College. And Mercedes was the host of Wiley College Radio. She was the director of the radio station.
Mhm.
I had no idea who Mercedes was. I just knew that she was the director of our radio station. And she was the one that recorded my station every week. And Mercedes said to me, she said, Nina, you should really consider radio. And I thought, oh, she's really just being nice because I'm in here shivering. I got a nice voice, okay, but am I really cut for this? Is the trillion question. But I was in there terrified. And as I transitioned on the Louisiana side, I've been now in Shreveport, Louisiana, as my headquarters for the last almost 12 years now. And Mercedes has 30 years plus of radio and has been in radio in the Shreveport area for many years, very much a veteran. So yeah, she kind of knew what she was talking about,
You
right?
knew what you
But
were
at
talking
the
about.
time, I was just doing it out of obedience
Mhm.
and just kept going. Yes, ma'am.
So you want to tell me I'm doing this out of obedience because it's really out of my comfort zone. I
You
would
are
have
straight
never
up.
been doing this. But praise God to my sister who's behind the scenes. She told me
Always
like,
grateful for
no,
the
you
thing.
can do it. And you know what? It gives me a pleasure doing it. This hearing other people's story, and I could share my story down the way and be happy. And to me, later on in years, somebody could go on and see this and say, "Wow, I may be gone or what," but somebody can say, "I can do this too." Just listening to our stories and stuff. So we're gonna go on to a quick commercial break again for another one of our sponsors. And people, if you want to come on and sponsor us, we are looking for sponsors. We are looking for people to sponsor us on our show. So anything counts. You just come on, you place an ad, and you can get your ad on because it's going to be running in 50 states on Roku TV, on Amazon, all over. So it's a win-win for you. All right, so we're going to take a quick commercial break. Oh, welcome back, everyone. So, Nita, I know this is the one. I can't wait to get your book. I can't wait to get your book. Girl, I cannot wait to read that book. Everybody, I have a counselor, and she always, when we first started our counseling, she's like, you need to write a book because I have a story. I have a story to tell.
I
It's just
bet.
like me. I'm like, it's getting out of that comfort zone to
Mhm.
do it. And I was listening to Les Brown recently on Clubhouse.
Mhm.
And I said, okay. And he said he got a ghostwriter. I'm like, oh yeah, I can get that because I'm I'm I I'm a visionary. I'm not one who's gonna sit down there because my mind goes, wait. That's who I am. And so, but when I your book, your title is The Journey and the Faith That Got You There. And honestly, that's my story too. Because
Yeah.
when I decided to leave my country and come here, it was by faith. And during COVID, I went back and started thinking, all what I went through, I left everything. I still have my house, I still have stuff there. But coming here, and when I looked at that, the journey, it was a journey because many times I asked God, why did you bring me here? Why do you have me doing this? I'm never used to working doing this job. I never used doing this. I'm used to corporate job. It's like you're so angry with him. But I realized, you know what? Today, look where I'm at. Because my journey and my story can help somebody else. And that's what he wanted me to do. And I didn't realize it before then. But I realize it now, especially during COVID, especially when I started doing the show and I started talking to people, asking them to come on my show. Not even they are asking me to come on it. Then I realized that. So I can't wait to read this. This is a read. This is my book. I'm gonna read. We're gonna come back on the show and really read this book. I'm so
Let me tell you, I can't wait to read the book, Miss Deborah. I cannot wait to read this book myself. Okay. I am, oh my goodness. I remember my dad, which my biological dad died when I was 8 years old. And I remember my dad, that you would never know is not my biological. He read one of my screenplays and said, "Oh my gosh, Nina, you're gonna write one day." And I thought, "Oh my gosh, my dad is my number one cheerleader. I am a daddy's girl." So of course he is definitely just, blowing some horns. But sure enough, years later, I finally I mean, y'all, this book is got to be definitely well over 8 years old. It's 8 years old for sure. I should have been had this book done, but timing is always perfect. So I just
something
submitted.
they say, it's not our time, but God's time. Okay. So
You know
remember
it.
that.
Yes,
It's not
ma'am.
our time,
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
God's time.
You know it. But I'm gonna be honest, Miss Deborah. Sometimes we can get into disobedience, and I was into disobedience to where
Yes.
I just had not made room for it because I knew that He had called me to it, and that's a very thin line. It's very important to know that. You know that it's God's timing, but sometimes we do it for the lack of fear, or fear, or not wanting to go back and address or pull up old wounds. All of that could be attached to why we don't do it.
But
And I,
one thing, as you say that, one thing I know, for me, I had a counselor once, and going through all my struggles, and I went to him, and because I had fears, I still have fears, we still have fear, we all do have fears, and I told him, and he said, "Go read Psalm 139," and I read that psalm, and then the thing about it, God already know that we were going to do that. God
yep,
already know we're going to have that fear, even though He have that journey. He already know that we are going to stumble when He
yep,
give it to us, right? So when
so
you
true.
read that and you put yourself in it, I cry because I'm like, okay, I know, but when is the time to come to do it? Because that time when we're going through that, God know that because He's preparing us for the day when
Yeah,
we do it. When we
yeah,
write that book or when we do that mission that He have us to go to, we're going to do it right. So
absolutely.
that is what I look at when now I'm like, okay, He know that I'm gonna stumble, I'm gonna
Mhm,
have that fear, I'm gonna
mhm.
have that rejection, I'm gonna have all this stuff, and I'm saying, it's me, but it's God, because we read that psalm. I tell people out there, read that psalm, and when you say call your
Come on.
name, and then when you call your name, you're gonna be like, He know. The time
Yeah,
what hit me on that psalm. You see, so I knew you did. I knew before you were gone. I know
come
you're
on.
coming. I know you're going, and I know you in your mother's womb. Girl, I stayed in my bed and I cried. Like
Come
I'm like,
on.
come on. I'm like, So
Yeah.
you know me all this time, and you just let me
Yeah.
go through this. But
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that changed my thinking because I
Mm-hmm.
know I'm gonna stumble, and He lets us stumble. As when we have kids growing up, right? And they fall, but they get up
He's so
because they push
gracious.
themselves. They get up, and that's what He wants us to do. Because the time when we say, "Oh yes, I'm gonna do this," and I'm stopped. I didn't do it because, but He know that. So now
Yes.
it's your time. When you
Yes.
put that book out, when you tell that story, you can tell the people of the stumbles, the time when you said no, the time when the fear came in, and
Yes.
the people who have fear are going to say, okay, because for me, I had a lot of fears, and look where I'm
Mm-hmm.
at today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
So
that is just, you hit all of that. That is so true. It's all a part of the journey. And
mhm.
so the book is finally in manuscript form, just in its final editing stage. So we're going to start, Lord willing, pre-sales March 15th. So super excited about it, but it is called the journey
Mommy,
and the faith, the journey and the faith that it took to get there.
and you
The
look at it, it's the same thing as if I can, you can.
Mhm,
Can you?
mhm.
You can do it.
And
If
the
I can,
cover,
you
Miss
can.
Deborah, the cover was just amazing. Shouts out to the designers because the cover really displayed my vision in a way that I couldn't have even imagined. Because when you look at the cover, you're gonna be like, oh my goodness, who's going that way? Like I don't know who gonna go that way, but call me when y'all get back. But life shows up. And I always say that whether you're 2, 12, and my students can fit just 22, 52, 82, like life happens, but you still got to be willing to go. So I'm excited about the rollout of the book.
Right. And so I know we only have like a few more minutes before we ended this show, but I am so excited to go this journey with you
Yes, ma'am.
as a sister with nonprofit. And I'm so grateful that God put us together in our life. And you see the thing about you in Louisiana, I'm in Georgia, but it don't matter what. It's like he put us into a way
Atlanta's like my home
connected.
away from home.
Yes, away from home. I love Louisiana. I really love Louisiana. I just go visit there. I just visit. Just it makes me feel like home.
Yeah, yeah,
Like if I'm in the islands, it makes
yeah,
me feel like home. Just going around and it's just the life of people. I love the park when you go in the music. Because here I don't really get that music in real, like a music, country.
yeah.
So I love Louisiana for that. I just can't wait until COVID is over to just get in my car and drive, you know.
Yes.
But I would like you to leave, and like we have 5 more minutes, and like some words of wisdom you would like to leave, and what you can.
I would say as we wrap it up, I love the title of the show, Miss Deborah, because you can't say anything after that. If I can, you can. You all would not even imagine life. You wouldn't even imagine the tears that I've cried. You wouldn't even imagine how hard it's been from my divorce to raising kids as a single mom to attempting to co-parent and being a failure at that because of the anger and the bitterness or things that has been done on the co-parent side. You just couldn't imagine, and a lot of times we see the highlight reels of people's lives, and I'm guilty of that. I like to always give my social media Nina, period. And
Yeah.
99% of the time, you're going to see Nina like this because this is who I am. This is not a show. This is not a front. This is just what 25 years of knocking my head, bumps and bruises, and the equivalency of what don't quit looks like, you know. But if I can't encourage you on nothing else, surround yourselves with people that not only have your best interests at hand, but people that support you and can believe in you, that will lift your arms when you want to quit. And even most importantly, people that won't judge you, because this journey is already tough in itself.
Yeah.
But to be able to do it with petty Bettys or negative Nancy's or Nathan's or those type of energies around you don't do yourself no justice, and it's going to prolong your dreams and goals.
And yeah,
I'm
thank
a
you.
living witness. I know we got to wrap up, but I'm a living witness, Miss Deborah, that you only get one life to live. That's a
One
soapbox,
night to live. Live
but I'm
it.
a living witness. You know, you only get one life to live. We're not cats out here. We don't have nine.
Yeah.
So let's go out here and give world the best that we got.
And we go out and live it. And that's true. Go out, enjoy life. And one thing I always say, show love to somebody today. Show love to somebody today, no matter who they are. If you on the street and you see a homeless person, and I always say, God is in the homeless person. He is in that person or that young child out there, a mother who, and I'm pleading to moms, if you want to come on this show, just come on. We want to hear your story. You know what? Because your story can help somebody else. And maybe somebody will hear your story and help you in another way. And, I want to thank everyone for listening today. For can you? And listen today to the show. And we're going to be back next week with a phenomenal guest who is from the UK. So just look up, come on back next Saturday at 1. And again, I am Deborah Philbert, your host for If You Can. If I Can, You Can. See you guys soon. Bye.